It was supposed to be a holy conquest, a bold move to bring Christian rule to Muslim-controlled Spain. But what Charlemagne found in Iberia was not glory, it was betrayal, brutal warfare, and one of the most humiliating defeats of his reign. In 778 AD, Charlemagne led a massive army across the Pyrenees, lured by promises of support from rebellious Muslim governors in Al-Andalus. But when those alliances crumbled, he found himself retreating through dangerous mountain passes only to be ambushed at Roncevaux, where his rear guard was wiped out in a moment that would echo through legend. Charlemagne's Spanish campaigns from 778 to 811 AD were filled with ambition, disappointment, and hard-won lessons. In this video, we'll explore the rise and fall of that campaign, the creation of the Spanish March, and how these events reshaped the politics of the Iberian Peninsula for generations to come. Before Charlemagne set foot in Spain, the Iberian Peninsula was a patchwork of competing powers and fragile alliances. The south was ruled by Al-Andalus, the Muslim-ruled territory of the former Umayyad Caliphate, now led by the powerful Emirate of Córdoba. Though formidable, the emirate was facing internal rivalries. Governors like Sulayman al-Arabi and Hussein of Zaragoza were growing restless, some even seeking outside help to challenge Córdoba's dominance. Meanwhile, the north of Iberia was home to small but defiant Christian kingdoms like Asturias, and fiercely independent tribes like the Basques, who were caught between Muslim overlords and Frankish ambitions. To the east, near the Pyrenees, the political terrain was even more fractured. Local warlords, exiled Muslim leaders, and tribal chieftains all vied for control. To Charlemagne, this chaos looked like opportunity, a chance to extend Christian rule, establish a buffer zone, and prove himself as the emperor who could unite Europe north and south. Charlemagne's invasion of Iberia wasn't just a military gamble, it was a calculated move driven by faith, politics, and strategy. First and foremost, the campaign was framed as a holy mission. Charlemagne saw himself as the defender of Christendom, and pushing into Muslim-controlled Spain was a natural extension of his wars against the pagan Saxons and Avars. But religion wasn't the only motivation. In 777, a group of discontented Muslim leaders, including Sulayman al-Arabi, offered Charlemagne their loyalty in exchange for help in overthrowing the Emir of Córdoba. It was the perfect opportunity. Enter Iberia as a liberator, divide the Muslim ranks, and gain strategic cities like Zaragoza. Charlemagne also wanted to control the Pyrenean Passes, vital mountain corridors between Francia and Spain. If he could secure them, he'd create a powerful buffer zone known as the Spanish March, a defensive frontier to keep Muslim armies at bay. But the alliances he counted on were far weaker than he realized. In the summer of 778, Charlemagne led one of the largest military expeditions of his reign across the Pyrenees Mountains, into the fractured lands of northern Iberia. His goal was clear: support the rebellious Muslim governors who had promised to deliver the city of Zaragoza in exchange for protection. But when Charlemagne arrived, things unraveled fast. The leaders who had invited him, like Sulayman al-Arabi, lost control. Hussein of Zaragoza refused to surrender the city. Charlemagne laid siege, but Zaragoza held out. After weeks of stalemate and broken diplomacy, he realized the campaign was a failure. The Franks began the long retreat northward, but their troubles were just beginning. As the Frankish army moved through the narrow valleys of the Pyrenees, disaster struck. At Roncevaux Pass, Charlemagne's rear guard was ambushed by Basque warriors, who were likely retaliating for the Frankish destruction of Pamplona earlier in the campaign. The attack was sudden, brutal, and perfectly timed. The mountainous terrain made it impossible for the main army to respond. Among the dead was Roland, a noble and military leader who commanded the rear guard. His death would later be immortalized in the medieval epic The Song of Roland, transforming a tactical blunder into a tale of chivalric martyrdom. In reality, Roncevaux was a harsh lesson in overreach. Charlemagne had ventured too far into a land he didn't understand, trusted unreliable allies, and underestimated the terrain and local resistance. Though not a massive military defeat, It was a devastating blow to his prestige. The campaign had yielded no territorial gain, and the Franks had lost soldiers, supplies, and a key commander. Spain would not fall to Charlemagne not through force, not yet. After the disaster at Roncevaux Pass, Charlemagne knew one thing: a full-scale conquest of Al-Andalus wasn't realistic, so he changed course. Rather than pushing deep into Iberia again, he focused on securing a defensive frontier just beyond the Pyrenees. This became known as the Spanish March, a fortified buffer zone meant to protect the Frankish Empire from further Muslim incursions. Over the next 2 decades, Charlemagne and his generals launched smaller, calculated campaigns to capture key strongholds in northeastern Spain. The most significant of these was the capture of Barcelona in 801, led by his son, Louis the Pious. This gave the Franks a permanent foothold in the region and anchored the eastern frontier. The Spanish March wasn't just a military zone, it became the seedbed for future principalities like Catalonia, blending Frankish law, Christian faith, and local culture into something new and enduring. From conquest to containment, the strategy had evolved. With Barcelona secured in 801, the Frankish forces pushed deeper into northeastern Iberia. Charlemagne's commanders continued launching limited offensives, aiming to fortify the Spanish March and expand Frankish influence. But they quickly ran into new obstacles. The Muslim forces of Al-Andalus regrouped and mounted counterattacks. Basque uprisings flared up again, resisting both Frankish and Muslim domination. At the same time, maintaining garrisons and fortresses so far from the empire's core became logistically taxing. Even among Charlemagne's own allies, loyalty was shaky. Slavic tribes and Saxon rebels drew his attention back north and east, diverting vital resources. By 811, the campaigns in Spain had largely stalled. Charlemagne, now aging, focused on securing what had already been gained rather than chasing further expansion. Spain had proven to be a land of fierce independence, divided loyalties, and costly resistance. Rather than conquering Iberia, Charlemagne had carved out a defensive edge and knew when to stop. Charlemagne's campaigns in Spain may not have resulted in a full conquest, but their strategic legacy was undeniable. The creation of the Spanish March established a Frankish foothold in the Iberian Peninsula that would last for centuries. This frontier zone gave rise to Catalonia, a region that would grow into a major cultural and political force in medieval Europe. Though Charlemagne failed to topple the Emirate of Córdoba, his efforts strengthened Christian resistance movements in the north. His military pressure destabilized Al-Andalus, just enough to give kingdoms like Asturias breathing room to grow stronger. Culturally, the legendary Battle of Roncevaux Pass became a mythic tale of heroism, inspiring the medieval epic The Song of Roland and shaping ideals of chivalry and martyrdom for generations. Ultimately, the Spanish campaigns proved that not all victories come from conquest, some come from knowing how to build borders, forge legacy, and hold the line.